Good evening and welcome to the Baby Bunting Live Series, Episode 10. Now tonight we're going to be just talking about stress and anxiety. I'm Elise from Baby Bunting and I've got Merryn with me. Now at Baby Bunting, we understand that it's a very stressful time for our new and expecting parents. So at Baby Bunting, we've put a number of things in place to assist you to shop safely. We've got our no contact click and collect, so you can jump onto our website and you can browse through all our items and place the order there, and then you'll receive notification and then you'll be able to collect it from one of our 56 stores without the contact of going into a store. We also have our no contact phone and collect, where you can call one of our stores, talk to one of our team members who can assist you with all your questions, place that sale through for you, and then you can collect it from the back of our store. We also have our helping hand phone service. So if you jump onto our website, you'll be able to fill in all your details, so then you can have one of our friendly team members from your preferred store give you a call and ask all the questions, and all of the answers that you need can be done on the phone for you. We also have placed some in-store safety measures. So that's in order to be able to assist you within the store and also to keep you safe and also our team members. That includes our 1.5 social distancing, and we also have a required number of customers within our store. So please be patient if you do come to the store and you find that you might have to wait at that front door until you're allowed to come in. But talking about stress and anxiety, I do have Merryn here with me, and that's to be able to assist all of our viewers out there who might be feeling at this current time that little bit of level of where they're comfortable is just starting to raise up. So Merryn, tell us a little bit about how you came into this field.
Well, hi everybody. I started off as a teacher and I worked in primary and special education for a number of years, and then I moved across into psychology, and I've worked as a psychologist for about 20 years now. And stress and anxiety, it's just everywhere. It's part of life for everybody, and it just is the area that seems to have been where I've focused the most. So I think it's really important for everybody to learn to understand stress and anxiety, and as such, I wrote a book a couple of years ago about annihilating stress and anxiety, and that was really meant as a handbook, a very practical thing with things that people can do to manage their stress in an everyday sense. So here I am, still working in the field of stress and anxiety.
And I guess we're so grateful to have you on with us tonight, because I think everyone out there really has got a lot of questions. So if you do have some questions, please jump onto our live Facebook post there, and in the comments section, pop your questions in, and at the end of this session, we'll be able to answer those for you. So I guess, what is stress and what is anxiety?
Well, they're both very common. Let's look at stress first of all. There are two types of stress, and people very often like to point out to me that they find stress positive. Now, there is a positive form of stress, and that's eustress, spelled E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. That's the motivating stress that gets us up and about and doing things. But we hear in the mental health area most about the negative form of stress, sometimes referred to as distress. And this is about when you've got so many things on your plate, you've got a lot of pressure and things to do, but you feel as though your coping resources aren't quite adequate to help you get by. So you feel a bit out of balance and a bit overwhelmed. Now, anxiety is often the condition that comes from feeling that you're stressed, and this links in very much to how you think about things. So our thinking is a really, really important part of how we function from a psychological perspective.
And I guess to help our audience out there, what is postnatal depression?
Postnatal depression can start during pregnancy, and it's then referred to as perinatal depression, but most commonly it occurs after a baby's been born. And this is a form of depression that can kick in for people. So depression has more severe symptoms, and it's often a lot of the anxiety symptoms that people might have, such as the physiological symptoms of a shortness of breath or pounding heart or just getting achy, headachy, those sorts of things. With depression and postnatal depression, the mood aspect becomes far more intense, and people's mood really can change quite suddenly. And where this tends to spiral people down into a place, people talk about feeling like the black curtain coming down, or feeling as though everything is dark around them. This happens because of the intensity of the mood change. And what can happen then is that people can lose any sort of interest or connection with the normal life that they would normally lead. When you've got a baby, if you lose all of your interest in your normal work and the normal things that you're doing, if you also lose interest in looking after the baby, you really need to get some medical support and attention.
Now, is it normal for, somebody to feel anxious while they're actually pregnant?
Look, I think it's very common for people to feel anxious. If we think of pregnancy, this is a time where people can be either really excited and possibly overwhelmed all at the same time. So and once again, you look at the thoughts and the thinking that's associated with it, and what's going to happen? What's this baby going to mean? I've got to look after this baby. Will I know what to do? How will I manage that? So there are a lot of thoughts that go with that. And anxiety is often typified by people having thoughts that have things like, what if I can't do this or I don't manage that? So anxiety is a very common thing.
So what are the signs that I need to look out for if maybe I was stressed or I was anxious at that time?
I think look out for changes. This is the key, I think, to any sort of mental health thing. Look out for changes in how you normally are. And when I talk about changes, I talk about their natural meds. And their natural meds are their mood, their exercise, their diet, and their sleep. Now, if you notice any changes in those normal routines for you, then you need to look at what's causing that. So if your mood fluctuates, and it can do during pregnancy because hormonal changes and all of this sort of thing can happen. So just keep an eye on how severe those changes are. Look at whether your exercise routine is the same as normal, and if it's not, why not? Is it because you're pregnant and it's uncomfortable or it's difficult? Also look out for things such as irritability, crying, that sort of crankiness that is not normally you. These are all signs and symptoms of stress and anxiety.
So I guess what would be the main differences between that stress, anxiety and depression if someone was going to then be, informed that they fall into one of those categories?
So let's look at it as a progression. Stress is we all have stress. It's the ups and downs of everyday life, and how we manage it depends very often on the day. Anxiety is linked to that, but it's a more severe impact on that. So it links in with whether you're catastrophizing about how you're thinking, whether your thinking is making you blow things out of proportion. Depression, more severe again. And the mood changes that come in with depression tend to be much stronger than the mood changes that might relate to anxiety.
So if someone had never experienced anxiety before, why might it come out when they've just had their child at that point?
Look, I think the whole process of becoming a new parent is so huge. It's exciting, but it can be overwhelming. And sometimes anxiety and or postnatal depression, they can result as a complication from the whole birth process. But think about the physiological, the psychological and the emotional changes that are all happening. And it's like this great big cocktail of change that's going on. So it's not really all that surprising for things to be a bit different. And it can just be a result of the enormity of what's going on here.
So if someone is feeling stressed and anxious, what are some of the steps that they can take?
Look, the very first thing that I always suggest for people is to breathe. Just to slow down your breathing. And I try to make that fairly easy. Breathe in for 3 and out for 3. Because when we get stressed, this happens. Our shoulders rise and we get tense. When we breathe, we relax and our shoulders drop and we feel so much calmer and life is much easier. We then need to look at what was I saying to myself? What was my self-talk? What was I thinking about? Was I saying what if a lot? And if that's happening, that's a really big clue that your thinking needs to be brought back into check. And if that's too big a job for you to work out on your own, that's the time to go and see a mental health professional to help you.
So what could be some of the day-to-day things that I could incorporate into my life and into a routine to help me with stress and anxiety?
I'm really big on maintaining balance, and one of the things that I find, particularly for new parents, is that they are so caught up with spending so much of their energy looking after their baby that they forget all about themselves. And so I just like to explain this with a diagram here, because I think it can help people cement in their mind just what it's like. Now, I want you to imagine that this is your energy field here. And most people give out, especially new mums and dads, are giving all this energy out to their baby. Dads might also be at work. There might be other family members that need energy. And all this energy is going out trying to do the absolute best that they can. While this is happening, this is getting smaller and smaller and smaller until people end up in a really bad space with basically no energy. And this is where they get to the point of either collapse or illness, and we don't want this to happen. So we've got to keep hydrating our energy. And the way we do that is to feed our energy. And I think that there are 5 key ways to feed your energy. The first one over here is your diet. Now, I understand that many people can't be bothered cooking meals when they've got new babies, but whatever you eat, make sure it's nutritious, and you might get some help with getting some fresh food in, even if you don't have to cook it yourself. So diet, really important. The next one is exercise. Now, when you've got a new baby, you might think, when am I going to fit that in? I'm so busy trying to look after the baby and feed it and change it and bath it and whatever. Try to take it for a walk, because that's going to be good for the baby and for you. And walking, I think, is a really important starting point for anybody doing exercise. All you really need is to have your baby in the stroller or the pram and a good pair of walking shoes, and you're really set to go. So try and get a walk in every day. The next one is a little bit contentious, because that one is sleep. And when you've got a new baby, sleep is often really, really difficult. So if sleep is a problem for you, try to have a nap when your baby is sleeping during the day. It's much better to preference looking after yourself and feeding your energy than it is to tidying your house or having the cleanest windows in your house or whatever. That sort of thing is not that important in this early stage of being a parent. So do what you can to get as much rest as you can, because I think we all know that we do so much better when we're not sleep deprived. So do the best you can around sleep. The next one is relaxation. Now, if I think of myself as in the new parent role, try to have, when your baby is content or doing something, sit, even if it's when you're feeding the baby, turn that into a time of rest and relaxation for you. If the baby happens to be asleep or playing somewhere, you might be able to sit down with a cup of tea for 15 minutes. And I'd much prefer people to do that than to be racing around trying to do housework and things like that. So take the time to give yourself a bit of a break. This is a really important way of combating stress and anxiety, by calming down and allowing yourself that space just to be you. Now, the last one is the one that so many people I speak to have forgotten all about, and that is fun. So many people I speak to have forgotten all about what fun is. Now, fun is really important because it links into social connectedness, and research is showing more and more how important social connectedness is in terms of managing mental health and well-being. So if you're a new mum and you're at home and you can't go out because of COVID, make sure you use telecommunications, catch up with your girlfriends on the phone, on Zoom, however, so that you'll have some contact with other people and getting you outside of your own little headspace, because this is going to be really important to help you feed your energy, keep your energy hydrated, and maintain a sense of balance. Thanks, Elise. I've finished drawing now.
thank you. I can pop that down there. So I guess our next question is it common to feel anxious as a new parent?
It's very common to feel anxious as a new parent because you've got a completely new routine and your baby is going to be changing its routine so often. I used to find I just got used to a routine and it would change. So you've got to sort of learn about what your baby's cues are, and you've got to learn how to interpret your baby's cues. So that can be a little bit anxiety provoking. The way you think about that and the way you think about how you manage that is really important. So just try and take that in your stride. Be aware that babies do change their routines. They're not going to sleep all through the night right from the word go. They sleep in short spaces. They feed in short spaces. That's normal. So please try not to get yourselves too caught up with your baby not doing the right thing, because your baby is being your baby and it's learning about how to manage on its own outside the womb, and you're learning how to adjust to that.
So can my partner or husband suffer from depression? Sorry, get my tongue tied there. Or is it just purely the birthing parent who gets that?
No, it's really interesting. The stats show that 1 in 7 women and 1 in 10 men can have postnatal depression. So we really need to look after the dads as well as the mums in all of this. So dads, if you're feeling as though things are not quite right for you, it's really important for you to not ignore it and to get support as well.
So what resources are out there for my partner?
I think there's a number of things for men, and if I think about this, what I would do for a lot of the men, if they're at work, a lot of workplaces have an employee assistance program, so that actually can be a very easily contactable first port of call. So that's something where you can get some individual one-on-one support. But apart from that, you can also contact Men's Line, and you could go to Beyond Blue. They have resources. Panda have resources. So there's a number of other organisations that you can go to. And another thing for men too, or for anyone, men and women, but men often feel a bit more comfortable with this, that can be just to go and start by speaking to your GP. Because if your GP thinks that counselling would help you, they can then refer you to someone where you can get some one-on-one support.
And I think that's wonderful that it's not just, looking at the birthing parent, that it's available out there for everybody, so that, and it's, I guess, common knowledge as well, so it's not sort of kept in the behind closed doors now.
Absolutely, and I mean, I've run parenting groups in workplaces before, and we've had as many dads coming to those as we've had mums who are returning to work. And the dads that I've worked with have been really going out of their way to make the adjustment easy for their partner and at their own expense, so in terms of their mental health. So we've really got to make sure that we look after mums and dads in this.
I guess I thought that having a baby was meant to be fabulous and joyous, and just that wonderful experience that everyone else has told me it's going to be, but I'm feeling stressed to the max, and I guess, I'm not enjoying that whole parenthood journey at this point. What can I do to try and help, I guess, change that at this point?
Look, I think what's really important here, once again, is people's thinking. And the first thing that people who are not enjoying parenthood, I think if you let that continue on for too long, it's really going to get you down and it will become a mental health issue. So the first thing is to calm down and to not be too hard on yourself. If your thinking is about all the problems that are happening, then you really need some help to reframe that. And I would go and speak to your GP, maybe as a starting point to get a referral to a psychologist. But the bottom line is to try to relax a little bit more, try to be kinder to yourself, and recognise that you and your baby are both getting used to a new routine. There are going to be ups and downs. You don't have to get it right all the time. None of us as parents do. Just allow yourself to go with the flow. But if you're worried about it, please go and speak to someone. The rule of thumb for any sort of symptoms, be it baby blues that sort of goes into anxiety, that goes into postnatal depression, if you have those symptoms for more than 2 weeks, that's the time that you really do need to go and get some help. You need to speak to your doctor and get a referral to a psychologist.
Okay.
So anything that is not showing signs of abating or getting better, you need to get some help.
And I guess at this point in time, comparing ourselves and expectations can play a huge role in that stress and anxiety, especially when we're just now currently sitting at home and we've got social media going, because that's our outlet. What advice do you have for anyone experiencing this or putting unnecessary pressure on themselves? What can they do?
Look, the first thing is please don't compare yourself to your friends or to what you see on social media, because when you see beautiful photos of babies on social media, that's not how it is the whole time. They've obviously taken a great shot of their baby, and they're beautiful to see, but every baby's going to have its time of crying. So don't think that that's how your baby should be all the time. I think this gets back really once again to how you think about things, and the critical part of your thinking here is about your expectations. So just stop and think about, what do you expect of yourself? And where did those expectations come from? Was it something that you remembered from your childhood that your mother or your grandmother or your aunt did that you think you should have to do now? And we live in a very different time now. Is it something that you see or you hear your girlfriends talking about? Also think about, what do you expect of yourself? And ask yourself, would I expect that of my best friend? Because very often we expect way more of ourselves than we would expect of others. So really be kind to yourself. Don't expect too much of yourself, and understand that all those beautiful photos that you do see on Facebook, those people are going to have their tough times as well.
And I think that's so important. Just give yourself a break.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
And just, try and see that there is that enjoyment there, but, don't put your expectations up here.
And the fact is that babies will cry. And not many people enjoy that. That's normal. So, and that's part of being a parent.
Now, do we have any questions, Nat, from our audience tonight?
We do. We have a mum on Facebook who is 30 weeks pregnant and also has a 1-year-old that she is chasing around at home. And she's experiencing both stress and anxiety, and wanted to know if you have any tips, easy tips or quick fixes that could help her in her day-to-day life.
Well, stress and anxiety, I can understand that with she's a very busy lady. I think that the first thing really is to take some time to stop, to breathe, and to have some time just for her. Now that's hard when you've got a 1-year-old, and that might actually have to be when the 1-year-old's having a sleep. So I imagine that the 1-year-old would possibly still be having a sleep during the day, and if that's the case, please use for some downtime for yourself. Do something you like. If you can't sleep at that time yourself, sit down with a cuppa or a magazine or a book, or do something for you, because you really do need to feed your energy and look after yourself.
So I guess I wanted to thank you so much, Merryn. Are there any quick tidbits that you could give to our audience tonight just to help them with that stress and anxiety?
The most important thing is to breathe. When you're feeling stressed, strung out there, frantic, in for 3, out for 3, breathing. Remember that if your thinking is really taking you to places where you don't want it to be, if it's catastrophic, if your mind is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you really can get some help to reframe your thinking, and I think it would be really worth your time going and having a talk to a psychologist who could perhaps help you get your perspective reframed and in a space that's easy for you to manage and move forward with.
And that's it. I guess, everyone, you're not alone out there. There are people who can help you and speak to you over the phone, at this point in time. So please just reach out if you need that help.
Absolutely.
Or you need someone to speak to. Please just reach out and somebody will help you. because we want you, you know, to enjoy this time. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't go according to what you had imagined before when you were pregnant. And we just want to be there to help you. So reach out and somebody will help you.
And there is telehealth available at the moment if it's just a bit too difficult for you to get places. So look, you're not alone. You are never going to be alone. There are always going to be people to help you. So please, if you need help, get help.
Yeah, and that's it. And so thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode, and have a wonderful evening, and goodbye.
Bye everybody.